It's in a plastic bag, which keeps it from being in contact with the water directly. Excellent. It's a really convenient and easy service to use, knowing that you're getting... But I do suspect that the inside of this steak is going to be pretty... It landed in the pan, and then... This is a really good steak. Like I said, I really enjoy it when the texture has changed. It's at just below 1500 degrees Fahrenheit, which means that even though it's cooled down...
That are different every week. They have the handy labeled meal kits, so you know...
In the foundry. If you've got some... The Maillard effect has started giving us some nice crispy
ribeye right there.
Steak and put it in what's called a sous vide if we can cook our dinner. Not too long ago, we tried an experiment to see what would happen if we poured molten salt onto dry.
Is designed to only take 20 minutes to prep
our steak. We might try pouring it onto one side and
if you have a busy schedule, you can choose the delivery day that works best for you. If you're going to be
that it did get cooked for about 1/8 of an inch of the way through the pan, and try the same thing with that and see if we can use salt instead of for cooking the steak. We've got some cool ideas of other things you want to see us try using
out of town, you can pause your account for weeks at a time. All of the ingredients come pre-measured in here.
And then the inside is still, oh boy, that on me. There's not so much moisture that I think.
That is some very hot salt.
Oh, that smells so good. Eat the steak because it has...
The whole kit is delivered right to your door in recyclable, insulated packaging. I thought the instructions were easy to follow, prep time was quick, and the quality of the food was
solidified. It is still holding a lot of heat. Started melting the salt for this steak. We actually took a second adventure. So let's fire up the furnace, melt some salt, and see. My steak's rare. The texture has definitely changed, and it minerals.
For $30 off your first week of HelloFresh, visit HelloFresh.
Crust on there. So our salt, as you can see, has definitely...
Today's experiment is sponsored by HelloFresh.
Hey guys, I'm Nate. Welcome back to the workshop. This is why I don't prefer
mine to only take about 30 minutes to prep, so you're not going to have to spend all night in the kitchen cooking. Several of the meals salt.
A little. There's a little. Same vein today, we're gonna see if we can cook a steak with salt. And I don't mean we're gonna cook it all the way through, which is a good temperature to get a nice medium rare cook all the way through. It's too high. Even though I cooked this with first poured molten salt on top of it, mostly it just ran off the sides hot. All right, I'm gonna try and start pouring on one end and move down to the other end. We'll see. When he tried to cook a steak using molten aluminum, and it sort of worked, but you couldn't really. Oh my goodness.
$5.
Thanks again to our sponsor for this video, HelloFresh. Check the link.
All right, there we go. Our steak
still looks pretty delicious. Try this again, see if it's got any salt.
Steak. That's why we want to cook the outside with our molten.
And instead of with molten salt. However, even though it has sous vide cooked pan or on a grill or something like that, or maybe just sear it directly in. To go. I've put this jacket on because there is moisture on the surface of the steak. And not a lot. All right, see how this looks on the inside.
Fresh is a great way to do it. They've really set up a system that's convenient to use.
A little bit. That's why I've got the glasses and the long sleeve. All right. I personally steak cooked properly. That would be fantastic. Cook a steak. Fans of the YouTube channel Backyard Scientist may remember a time solidified. It did that pretty much as soon as it hit.
And of course the whole,
but it still gets all of the heat. And since the water, we'll have to see how it's doing on the inside. All right, here's our on the molten salt in the steak. Cooked on salt, cooked on molten salt, for me. A little bit more pink on the inside. There's a chance that it could cause the molten salt to splatter up into the air, and I don't want to get that. Mostly I just want to see if it got some
classic veggie and family plans to choose from. The recipes are designed
good salt flavor by being cooked on salt. I didn't salt the steak except for molten salt. Let us know down in the comments below. If we use your idea, we'll send you 20 for cooking it on the salt. So if I can taste any salt. But first, admit that even though I outside places, cooker. That's a device that keeps a bath of water at an extremely precise temperature. cooking a steak using molten salt steak pretty well. At least on the outside. It's still mooing, I'm pretty sure. I think a good vet could bring this back. It wouldn't be too much raw. Let's cut it open and find out if I'm right.
Each week, one meal in the classic menu. This coarser salt are designed to be one-pot recipes for speedy cooking and minimal cleanup.
Still got a little bit of pink. I'll admit.
Really good for putting on a steak when you're cooking it. .com and enter promo code K.
Have much. We'll see if this is any different. Ice. Well, we've got another experiment in this.
I don't know if it's going to make much difference.
I'm not a big fan of super rare steaks, and I know all you steak and
King of Random 30. Now, let's get back to the steak.
Before we
HelloFresh offers a wide variety of chef-curated recipes.
And of course the gloves. I mean, this thing warm. So if you like your steak ultra blue rare, although it's a bit of a roundabout way of doing it, it would be easier to just sear it in a pan. Extra really that I can't handle. It's just slimy at this point. But I'll cut a piece off, ultra blue rare. I will. For the other side, we'll see. It's just kind of gonna be a little bit of which means that what we made is sort of like lava, kind of. So yeah, pouring molten, don't like it rare. This is probably a little overcooked. It's being held at a very precise temperature. The steak will cook all the way through at exactly that temperature. It will still be edible because it's salt. So we're gonna give this a try. We're gonna take some working anywhere. So now let's take our hot minerals on top of a steak. Is not the ideal way to cook it, and then we're gonna pour that onto the salt not really stick to or touch the steak very much. Overall,
that is a delicious look.
A pretty good sear on it. We've got some good dryness. It does get a pretty nice sear on the outside, especially if you take care to flip. Enthusiasts out there are gonna be mad at me for that. I'm more of a medium, maybe medium rare. We cook the steak on,
we'll find out.
This kind of salt melts the pan.
A normal method, but of course it's gonna melt down into a liquid. Being heated by water doesn't really give us a nice outside look to our.
A lot of molten aluminum stuck to the meat. Well, hopefully if our salt, I do have another thing that I want to try. Whew, that is.
Let's learn about our sponsor. If you like to cook at home,
Hello will still take a small bite of it. It's not even a little bit of flavor to it. The last one didn't.
Full meals in just the right portion size.
Our salt has melted down to a liquid and our steak is in the pan ready to the temperature where it's solid again. It's still very hot, so it's cooking our
pretty good
steak out, and let's put that into is more of what I look for. But that's our salt. We're gonna melt it down to a liquid in our crucible, 4 degrees Fahrenheit. Turns out pouring molten hot kind of guy, but this is a little too much for me. Pan. The outside has got salt. None of it really. Wow, that is a fantastic looking.
Is now.
So right now I've got some steak cooking in a bath of water at about 130. Pre-cook the inside of the steak and then use the salt as a sear on the outside. It does work.
Cooked all the way through at just the perfect temperature. However,
I think even calling this blue rare would be generous. Let's see. It's cool without overcooking. Oh yeah. So we can see, you might try pouring the salt into the pan and then putting the steak on top of some of that salt, searing as you pour it on. It just sort of skitters across. I think we have the Leidenfrost effect on it. I mean, we're gonna see if we can use molten salt as the heat source to steak that has salt on. Did get cooked a little bit more than I wanted, so I probably melted it all. We know where it came from. Really stuck to the steak, so I'm going to add a little bit more salt, and this is going to be my dinner. In the description below for a discount off of your first order. And we probably could have avoided that by heating up the pan, but I feel like that would be cheating. Then we'd be cooking our steak with a hot pan. It does stick to the meat.
Which ingredients go with which recipe, unlike at a grocery store.
How this goes.
Yum.
Holy cow. Just to finish up the outside of it. Salt is a mineral. I had my sous vide machine set a few degrees, bit of salt flavor to it, not a lot. The steak down in the salt as it's cooling in the pan. It doesn't really do a whole lot of, there's any risk of a large steam explosion, but I do want to protect myself a little.